A little to the east of the Hellfire Club, down the slope of Mountpelier, can be found a steward's house and stables associated with the Killakee estate. The vast Killakee mansion that once stood in the woodlands across the road was built by Luke White in 1806 and was once the centre of a 3,000-acre estate. In 1854, the Killakee estate was inherited by a relative of the White family, John Massey, the 6th Baron Massey. The Massey family sold off most of their estate in the Land Acts of the late 19th century and then squandered the proceeds with a lavish lifestyle until 1924, when the bankruptcy court granted the Dublin Bank an order for possession of Killakee House. Hugh Massey, who had a serious drinking problem, was evicted from the house by being carried out on a mattress by the sheriff's officer and his 2 assistants, who then, much to the amusement of the locals, dumped him at the side of the road. The bank maintained a caretaker in Killakee House until 1941, when they sold the house for salvage. Though the house still stood in fine order, the slates, roof timbers, floors and any other items were removed and sold off. The remaining structure was then demolished. The Killakee estate was taken over by the Land Commission, and the overgrown gardens, once amongst the finest in all of Ireland, were totally abandoned. Remains of the walled garden, enormous greenhouses and other relics of the Killakee estate can still be found in the surrounding public woodland park. After the demolition of the Killakee mansion, the steward's house became known as Killakee House, and in the late 1960s and 1970s was the scene of a prolonged and unpleasant haunting. The house was used by Hellfire Club members on several occasions, before and after their nocturnal activities on top of Mountpelier, and a large portrait of a monstrous black cat that had been witnessed during their occult ceremonies hung in one of the rooms. Countess Markovitz, Constant Gore Boot as she had been born, also spent some time at Killakee in the years before the uprising of 1916. During the troubles of the 1920s, the house was the scene of a gun battle between the IRA and the Black and Tans. When some IRA men took refuge and were cornered in the upstairs rooms, 2 men escaped, but a 3rd was shot down. After a period of disuse, the house came into the ownership of the O'Brien family, who saw it as an ideal venue for an arts and crafts centre. Workmen were employed to carry out various bits of restoration and construction about the house, and it was around this time that there were numerous sightings of a huge black cat. Said to be about the size of a dog, with gleaming red eyes, it proceeded to terrify the workforce. None of the workmen stayed for more than a few days, many of them leaving without their wages, rather than face the black beast again. Soon it was left to the O'Briens and a few of their friends to carry out the rest of the work. One evening, when an artist named Tom McGassie and 2 other men were lending a hand painting the main hall and another room, they were surprised to find a heavy 18th century door wide open, despite the fact that they had closed and locked it earlier. McGassie saw the outline of a shadowy figure on the doorstep, who spoke in a deep, menacing, guttural voice, pronouncing that although he knew the men could not see him, he could clearly see them, and the door must not be shut. The 3 men were stricken with terror, and quickly fled the hall as the figure took on the form of an enormous cat. Other people reported that they had seen the apparition of the cat, accompanied by a strange figure of a small crippled boy. Later excavations in a tower just behind the house revealed a contorted skeleton of a small boy or dwarf, and next to the skeleton lay a horrible figurine of a horned-tailed demon. Before the skeleton was discovered, Mrs. O'Brien had found an iron effigy of a cat fixed to a wall of a tower near the grisly grave. She had removed this effigy, which she thought to be some kind of talisman, and placed it over the front door that led into the hall. In 1970, in an attempt to lay the ghosts to rest, a series of seances and Ouija board sessions were carried out in the house. As a result, the disturbances accelerated and worsened. Furniture was broken into pieces during the night, lights were continually switched on and off, and bells were heard ringing despite the house being searched and no bell being found. The ghostly crippled boy was now seen accompanied by a horrible figure in a blood-stained shirt. There was so much public interest in the strange occurrences at Killakee that RTE made a short programme about the house. Nothing out of the ordinary was recorded when the cameras were rolling, but the following day, a poltergeist struck. The O'Brien's new pottery was smashed to pieces, and the canvases of various oil paintings in the house were found torn to strips. The whole area was covered in some strange sticky substance. Over the following days, all sorts of caps appeared around the house. Babies' caps, sun caps, woolly hats and old women's caps, all inexplicably materialised on the floor, on chairs and on hooks behind doors. Some contained coins such as French francs or Polish money. Eventually, Killakee was exorcised by a priest, and in 1977, all haunting ceased. These days, Killakee House is much more welcoming. It is a lovely little cafe that is steeped in history, well worth a stop for some refreshment on your way to visit the Hellfire Club. So that is the disturbing history of Killakee House. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe if you wish to hear more creepy stories and legends from the Emerald Isle. I have plenty of other videos you might enjoy, so give it a gander. This is Jay from Our Legends. Good night and good luck.